I was more comfortable in situations in which you're actually building the future. And so that led me to explore venture capital. And I actually thought I would join a company that had received venture capital funding and was growing quickly, and I'd have a place to wear many hats. And as it ended up happening, I ended up creating a venture capital firm instead.
I'm Amy Jo Martin. Welcome to the Why Not Now show. You know that thing you've been thinking about doing? Yeah, that one. Why not now? Have you ever actually taken the time to ask yourself, what's stopping me? Let's talk it through. This is your chance to give that idea the attention it deserves and take action. Each episode, I have a chat with a fascinating person, from entrepreneurs to athletes, celebrities, my parents, rocket scientists, and all walks of life. We talk through a critical time when they've asked themselves, why not now? We dissect that day or even that moment, step by step.
Just let go.
Renegade Noramay Cadena is on the show today. She is my friend. She is quite the human. You are going to love her. So Noramay was a teen mom, which we get into. She then went on to get a couple of degrees at MIT, as you do. And as an aerospace engineer, she spent many years at Boeing. Well, then she took a turn and got into venture capital. She is now a venture capitalist, and she has her own firm. Supply Chain Management is a fund that really focuses on the intersection of food, culture, and tech. This is a wide-ranging conversation. You can tell Noramay has had her fair share of experience with adversity. She also gives us a little insight into some recent coaching she's received with her co-founder and ways to kind of navigate certain inflection points. And I specifically have used some of these tactics now since she shared. I'm grateful to have Noramay in the Renegade community. She offers so much value to the rest of the community, and it's been wonderful to see how she has grown in her own career as a result as well. And speaking of Renegade, make sure to check out renegadeaccelerator.com if you are interested in this community, in this program. I know you've probably heard me talk about it before, but we are open for enrollment right now, and it is life-changing, it's career-changing, and I hope that you at least check it out, renegadeaccelerator.com, for female leaders, executives, and founders. Noramay, welcome to the Why Not Now show. I am so excited to have you with me here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, absolutely. And let's hop in the spirit of why not now. I know that you ask yourself that question daily as a renegade, but can you tell me about a specific time that comes to mind when you had to ask yourself, why not now?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that doing hard things and responding to this physical and intellectual desire to bring about change certainly creates muscle memory, right? So doing one hard thing enables you to do the next hard thing. But I want to bring you to 2015. I'm 34. I've been in the corporate space for over a decade. I've carved this path to a forever career, right? Really rapid growth in aerospace, top level mentorship, path to being an executive, being a VP, being a GM. I mean, it was all laid out for me. And I had grown up being really moved by responsibility. So first generation college grad, eldest of 3 kids, financial responsibility, example responsibility. And so I was motivated by being the change, right? Being the change and being the responsible one and really tangibly putting money on the table. And for the first time, I was in a position where I wasn't happy. I had been leading my day job as an engineer and leader and running a nonprofit organization that really filled my soul. And so I was approaching burnout and really needed a way to combine the innovation work that really fulfilled me in one way and the community building work that fulfilled me in many other ways. And so the decision was, am I going to leave the corporate space and enter this world of entrepreneurship that is new and scary and not as economically rewarding upfront? And really, I decided that was my why not now moment. This was the time when I was thinking about myself and not thinking about everyone else who was on my shoulders. And so I made the leap, April 2015, and I quit my job. And I love how you talk, Amy Jo, about the 10 seconds of bravery, right? Because I distinctly remember typing up that email to my boss that said, I'm quitting. I know. I just got goosebumps. Typing up the email to say, this company has been an incredible experience. I am on to pursue this path of entrepreneurship. And as soon as I finished writing it and I signed it, warmly, Noramay, I had this physical reaction, fear, guilt, and I sent it. So I clicked send so that I couldn't talk myself out of it. And I immediately felt empowered. I felt brave. I felt smart. And it was the beginning of what has been a beautiful career in venture capital, really capitalizing on these opportunities to invest in across a variety of sectors. And I've now made over 60 investments through venture capital firms, venture partner roles, and my own angel investment portfolio. And it has been so thrilling. I don't plan to ever go back to the corporate space.
It's there's so much to dive into with just this one story and moment in time. And let's start with that moment of bravery, the 10 seconds, and how you are you're stacked when it comes to your education and your resume, and you're not a person that just makes decisions on a whim and hopes it all works out, right? So I think that the fact that you had that moment, that window of bravery, it's important that when people hear that, it's not like you just all of a sudden had an idea that popped in your mind and you did it. Like, you had been building, and there's a backstory to that, right? It just so happens that kind of physiologically everything lined up and mentally and psychologically where that was the moment. So can you tell me a little bit about how you prepared for that moment of bravery to where you were in a spot where you could click send because you didn't do this just on a whim?
Yeah, definitely not on a whim. So I'll tell you the formal prep, and then I think there's so much informal and personal prep as well, right? So the formal prep, I studied mechanical engineering, spent 10 years, really over 10 years, really focused on bringing innovation to market in large, complex aerospace projects like commercial satellites and airplanes and commercial crew capsule program. I went through a 2-year program at MIT called the Leaders for Global Operations that is all about taking tech-driven and data-driven leaders and making you smarter on the people side. So it's a master's in engineering with an MBA. And so that was the academic training. On the personal side, I mentioned muscle memory, right? So I had done hard things. I had sort of closed my eyes and said, I don't know what's out there, but I know what's here. and my displeasure with what is here is so much greater than my fear for what might possibly be out there, that I'm gonna make this leap. And the first time that happened was when I was 18 and decided to relocate across the country to go to school, to attend college with my 1-year-old daughter in tow. So that was the decision that really started the domino effect for future hard decisions, including relocations, going back to school, quitting this corporate job, and then deciding to make other shifts in between. So I think those two combinations, and I'll tell you that one of the critical experiences for me during my corporate experience was being in a position where I was almost an internal consultant, asked to work with a team to help them improve their schedule and cost so that we could win a contract to go to the International Space Station and bring supplies, right? Really cool stuff. And so I'd come to work. I was supposed to infiltrate the team, build trust, and then get them to make these shifts. And it was really hard to do so in an environment where the teams had been involved in this space for a really long time, and they really had blinders on and didn't think that anyone else could enter this market and do something better than they could, faster than they could, for less cost than they could. And so it was a very challenging environment. And I came to work every day wishing that I were actually on the other team. I thought, I want to be part of the team that says, heck yes, we're going to beat the incumbent. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's scary, but we can do it. And this is the dangling mission in front of us, if we so choose it, and we've chosen it, and we're going to get there. And they did. And so that's when I knew that I belonged in a different place. I knew that I was more comfortable in situations in which you're actually building the future. And so that led me to explore venture capital. And I actually thought I would join a company that had received venture capital funding and was growing quickly, and I'd have a place to wear many hats. And as it ended up happening, I ended up creating a venture capital firm instead.
Your journey is, and the mention of muscle memory, of hard things and hard situations to navigate. It started young too, personally, right? And we recently, for anyone listening, we were recently hanging out at a rodeo, right? And dinner that night, I think you had asked me, hey, did you know that I was a teen mom? And I said, yeah, I did. And that's one of the reasons and things that I respect the most in seeing your success since, is knowing that too. And how would you describe your experience, having that 1-year-old in tow, impacting the rest of the trajectory?
Oh man, nothing that I have done since has been as hard, literally or figuratively, as those 4 years of my life. And so I still get this body tingle when I think about those days, and when I think about how hard, and so much of this is gone, right? Consider it childbirth. You go through it. It's, it's hard. It's behind you and you almost forget. So much of this has been tucked away deep in a corner of my memory. But I do remember what got me through was thinking short term. So really thinking 1 week at a time. Remember why you're here. Remember why this is important. This little creature needs to have a life that is different than the one you grew up in. And that was, talk about inspiration, right? Talk about a fire in your belly that is constantly lit and reminding you that you've got to do more and be different. And so that was my guide. And it enabled me to get through that period. And I'll say it again, nothing I've done since right? Literally, figuratively, whatever has been as difficult as that period. And it's been fun to catch up with friends I went to undergrad with who have since had children. And I can't tell you how many of them have come back to me to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I had no idea what it was like to raise children. And I'm doing so with a partner in a different environment. And I know that I was good to you. I was helpful, but I couldn't have known. And I wish I had done more. Mm-hmm. And so I certainly had an incredible ecosystem, right? I can talk about the growing up, near the poverty line. I can talk about how hard college was, but really those were also two ecosystems that I would describe as ecosystems of possibility, where the word opportunity was so big, where this idea of options and what possibilities might lie ahead of you was such a big theme. And that was a big thing for me in my small community in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles. And it was certainly a theme with my group of friends at MIT, many of whom were also first generation college grads. So we were there, we were having a hard time, but we also had these incredible, lofty academic and community-driven goals that really helped us get through.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Hi, everyone. If you are digging this podcast, please do us a favor and subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. It just takes a moment and it means a ton to us. I love what you said about ecosystems of possibility and how big possibility was. That's a huge way to frame versus what, there are a lot of different ways you could frame up that situation. And I want to get to what you're currently doing and your focus and passion. And maybe a segue to this is you and your co-founder are going through some coaching together, correct? And we've talked a little bit about this more than once. And I love what you're learning in this process. And before we hopped on, we were talking a little bit about, I call it kind of grip behavior, slippery behaviors. And you were talking about changing your outfit.
Well, so my business partner and I went to school together. So we've known each other for a long time. And in 2020, she would say we were both at reflection points in life. Right? So not inflection points, but reflection points, really thinking about what we wanted the next phase of our professional life to look like and what was important. We were coming out of teaming experiences that hadn't been the most effective. And so we were thinking both about work scope and impact, but also the teaming relationship. And so when we started to chat, and it was an angel investment that actually reconnected us and helped us uncover the thesis we're now pursuing. We had long talks about what was important in each of our lives, what's important personally, what is important professionally, what kind of culture really helps you thrive. And so it helped us hone in on the fact that operational kindness and this people first mentality internally and externally is one of our key values, right? So we value transparency, candor, and most importantly, what I call active teaming. So active teaming means we are working on our relationship always. And a strong aspect to that is executive coaching. We just had a session this week that was incredibly valuable, where our coach, asked us describe ourselves when we're at our best and when we're at our worst, so that we could really understand each other's greatest fears. And then she said, your homework is when you next feel triggered, look at yourself and tell yourself, I'm wearing the wrong clothes. And, my Latina translation is go change your chonies. Right. So, so then, and I love to think about it that way. So I'm going to go change my chonies, and I'm going to reframe my reaction to what just triggered me, as making the assumption that this came from the, best of places, and it is a reflection of the other person's greatest fears. And so their reaction is based on their insecurity or their fear. And instead of responding in my current outfit, I'm going to change it and therefore have a more positive response. And so I love it. It's the homework I'm currently practicing this week. And it is a big part of our partnership.
I love that. So, I mean, having been through different types of therapy and counseling and coaching, it's like, I can imagine, how much time you spend together, how high of stakes, how intense things could be. How could you not have this person in your life is probably what you're thinking right now. But when you kind of, have you done this yet since the session?
It's mind blowing.
Okay. Tell me a little bit, tell me as much context as you want to provide, or color as you want to provide. You don't have to give a ton of details, but like, do you visualize?
So for my engineering mind, it's almost like it's an if this, then that, formula. So I can visually picture two fractions, one on this side, one on this side. So if I'm wearing this, I react this way. But if I'm wearing this, I react that way. So it's functional. It's a functional way for me to think about a very material change in this input output system. And now I'm getting nerdy. Why are you bringing me here?
No, see, this is how my mind works too. So, and imagine for someone who, they are really into style or something. It's like you can visually even imagine a different
wardrobe, a different scarf, different shoes. I mean, shoes.
The shoes, or a different environment, or if this then that is like the perfect way for my mind to click. And just that self-awareness. If you can catch yourself, gosh, think about how different that response might look. And then the ripple effect of that decision.
Yeah. And I'm certainly taking this in stages. I mean, I've already had opportunities to do this, in my household. and I've almost told myself, let's start with the professional life first. It's okay. It's okay to be triggered here. Incremental change.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then you can scout opportunities at home. Doesn't mean you have to execute right now.
I'm aware.
You know what else comes to mind with this shift in being able to catch ourselves is conserving energy, and how when Lincoln was born, he's in the NICU, and we knew we need some operation system changes. Like, just hands down, there's going to need to be some pretty radical shifts of how we get through this. And one of ours was conserving energy and eliminating things that would help us not go down the wrong paths and waste a bunch of emotion, especially emotional energy. And so we created the 20-second rule for our marriage. And that is, we've got 20 seconds. We both have 20 seconds after something's been said to take it back. And the other person can either accept or deny, but if they accept, it's over. We're moving on. And so it probably saved our marriage. It's still, we still do it. Yesterday, we had I did a 20-second rule. Anyway, so I just think about how valuable these small but huge things are, because they can compound over time, right? So let's talk about supply chain. And let's just talk about your world in this new hat. It's not brand new, but it's a newish role. Things are going very well, but you're still learning every day, and it feels like I can see your creativity working as I'm learning from you, because you're teaching me too. And so, can you tell us a little bit about the firm, but also your mission and why.
Yeah, I'd love to. Supply Change Capital is an early stage venture firm headquartered in both Los Angeles and Chicago. And our vision of the future of the food system is really that it is one that is sustainability mindful, supply chain efficient, better for you, and culture rich. And so we invest at the intersection of food, culture, and tech to catalyze a kind of early stage companies that are really going to, bring forward that element of systemic change. And we're building the firm with really a strong awareness, I would call a hyper awareness to the multiculturalism of the U.S. And so that means that we're heavily focused on communities that have historically created our foods and flavors, and that means women and people of color. And we were formed in late 2020. We're about halfway through with our fundraise. We've made 7 investments to date and are really excited to be in this space, investing in food and ag technology across the ecosystem, sustainable ingredients, and even consumer brands that have cultural appeal. And so stepping back, right, there's a bigger why here when you look at the venture capital ecosystem. In fact, coming out of the aerospace sector, I didn't think the diversity metrics could be any worse, but they truly are in venture, where all female teams receive less than 2% of venture capital funding, where women hold under 12% of partner roles at accelerators and corporate venture firms, where 7% of partners at the top 100 venture firms are women. And so this is a space that is incredibly ripe with opportunity across many intersections. And we're excited to be here.
When you started in 2020, and here we are 2022, and you and I met early 2021, right? It seems your pace and even raising your fund has accelerated. What would you say has been the driving force of that?
I think there have been a few. Certainly getting better at telling our story, bringing portfolio companies in so that our thesis is humanized and you can actually see it at work, validating the proof point around our team's ability to work together and to execute on our mission. Because even though we knew each other for many years, we hadn't actually worked together. And so that was a risk. And so when we first started, we gathered all the different areas that gave investors pause and thought, how do we mitigate? How do we mitigate? How do we check this one off the list? And so that meant, okay, let's get to work. Let's start investing. Let's put these teaming practices in place. And that's really it provided ROI in many ways.
Yeah, that's a lot of pieces of the puzzle coming together to create the momentum. And what's been your biggest lesson?
Oh my gosh, a few. I would say the biggest lesson is everything is hard and you pick your hard, right? Yep. So being in the corporate sector is hard. Being an entrepreneur is hard. Raising capital is hard. Being a parent is hard. All of these different things are hard. And you really have to pick the one that at the end of the day, independent of how hard it is, it really fills your soul. Right? You wake up in the morning and you're thinking about how to do that better, whatever that is. You're going to bed at night, reflecting on the day and thinking about ways to level up. And I found that I've never been in a role where this has been such a perfect intersection for me in terms of the work I do, who I do it with, and what it brings to me personally and professionally. And so it feels great to be in this space and to be working on it every day. So that's the biggest lesson. Everything's hard. You pick your hard and you work on making it a little less hard each and every day.
Pick the hard that fills your soul. That's like, yes, right? We could all argue our hards and have a contest. But the real contest is Is it the heart that fills your soul? How much does it fill your soul? I love that. I appreciate you so much, Noramay, and your insight. And we've co-invested on things together. We're going to continue to in the future, and your guidance on things. And I look back and I wonder if you were to go to that moment before you clicked send on that email and say something to yourself, what would you say?
What would I say to make me send that email faster?
Just knowing what you know now. It doesn't have to be advice. What do you wish you knew then?
I would really pat myself on the back and say, good job choosing you. Good job making yourself and your own dreams a priority.
That's awesome. I love that. And there are a lot of people right now that are about to click send.
The great resignation.
Yes, the great resignation for sure. And I think about there was a guest a while back who said, if you're unhappy, write a resignation letter. And they meant like physically write down and put it in a drawer near your desk or wherever, back in the day when we used to work at offices. And but I think, why not just throw it in a draft folder on, in your email? And there's something about knowing it's there that I think helps us determine whether or not we want to use it. And so just trying it on, try that outfit on, right? And so I think that could be a powerful step for people listening that might not quite know what they want to do. You don't have to click send, but what if you just drafted it? So thank you. And thank you for sharing your time and wisdom. Where should people follow along to see the work you're doing and just follow your tracks?
I'm at Noramay C across the channels.
Across the channels in the interwebs. I love it. I'm excited to continue to follow where you had and to collaborate with you. So thank you. And thank you for being in the Renegade community.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the show. Hit me up on social media to let me know what you think. I'm at Amy Jo Martin on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I want to hear your Why Not Now moments so I can share them on the show. Just send me a note to whynotnow@amyjomartin.com. For show notes and other offers, you can visit amyjomartin.com/whynotnow. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email newsletter for exclusive content and announcements. A big thanks to Rock Salt Music for all of the tunes by the talented John Coggins. And of course, a hat tip to Richard Brewer for editing and producing the show. I'll see you next time. And until then, why not now?